What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Event, Main on MMA. Today we are checking out a video from The Fighting Business. And this video is UFC 310, Pantoja versus Asakura, a deeper dive. That's the last pay-per-view of the year for UFC. We're going to look at The Fighting Business's deeper look video and be on the lookout for me and the crew's video for UFC 310. We'll give our official predictions on the Calf Kick Sports channel. That should be coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. But today we are watching The Fighting Business, a deeper dive at UFC 310.
Flyweight division badly needs a superstar. Brandon Moreno was close to it, but as talented as he was, he slipped along the way. No other flyweight on the current roster has the potential to draw people in, so the UFC is calling for outside help, and their savior is a rising superstar by the name of Kai Asakura.
僕はライジンのベルトを返上して UFC に行きます。
Kai Asakura, this is a man that is extremely explosive. He's a lifelong martial artist, bone-breaking power, as I said.
That is, if he doesn't get mauled by one of the most complete champions in the company today, Alexandre Pantoja.
I'm the warrior, and I love to fight. And December 7th, T-Mobile Arena, my Coliseo. It's my arena, bro.
In the last pay-per-view of 2024, the flyweights will close out the year with Alexandre Pantoja defending his flyweight crown against only the 5th debutant to get an instant title shot. In the co-main event, Ian Garry and Shavkat Rakhmonov, two undefeated welterweight contenders, risked their undefeated streaks against each other.
You'll only be able to say that this guy will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And the perfect example is give me the boogeyman in the welterweight division, and I'll stand in there in 3 weeks' notice and I'll find a way to beat him.
And two heavyweight contenders face each other in a rematch from years
ago. You don't believe that?
This card is pretty stacked.
You don't believe that?
Welcome to The Fighting Business. I never thought I'd see an end-of-the-year pay-per-view being headlined by a flyweight bout, but...
What's that shit? The first time Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury was like, I'm going to go... No, the second time. And Tyson was like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to knock him out. And Deontay Wilder was like, man, you don't believe that. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about Gary saying he's going to go in there and beat Shavkat. This man said he's going to beat Shavkat, then he's going to move up to 85 and beat Hamzat. Man, you don't believe that.
Never say never in this sport. Bilal withdrawing with a bone infection led to a lot of changes, but overall, I'd say this event is good enough to finish the year strong. And heck, even the main event is interesting. Aljamain Sterling, Chris Weidman, and Anthony Smith are on the card too, but we'll stick with the last 3 fights on the main card, so here we go.
Thank you to The Fighting Business, absolutely amazing. One of my favorite new channels going right now.
Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. In one of the feature fights at UFC 310, you have a rematch between two top heavyweight contenders while the division rots in limbo. Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov 2.0. In 2021, these two faced off in the empty Apex Arena, and the hype around Gane was next level.
This guy fights different than every other heavyweight. John Jones, a very well-rounded wrestler, guy we've seen the light heavyweight forever. You got the power of Francis Ngannou, and now you have the technique and the fight IQ of Ciryl Gane.
You know, this guy has a style. He's a big, powerful, badass heavyweight who moves like a middleweight.
Volkov was good too, but he had lost a few times, while the undefeated Ciryl Gane was a marvel in the heavyweight division. He was supposed to outclass Volkov, and he did. Well, kinda. Gane was the clear winner and firmly established himself as the next prominent contender, while Volkov, now with 9 losses, was labeled a good gatekeeper for the rest of his career, never to reach the elite bracket. Well, it's 2024 now, and a lot has changed. Gane did go on to challenge for the undisputed title twice and lost both times. First to Francis, who I think had a torn ACL, but he still ended up victorious with a grappling game plan. The second loss was to John Jones, who made Ciryl tap in 2 minutes, and that look of disbelief speaks for itself. Gane later rebounded with a win over Sergey Spivak, and That's good, but on the other hand, since the first fight, Volkov has gone 5-1, with his only other loss being to current interim and future undisputed champion Tom Aspinall, and with each W, he looked better and better. In his most recent outing, he faced Sergey Pavlovich, and he pretty much schooled him. Bro was so unbothered by Pavlovich that he even found the time to comb his hair between rounds. You could argue that Sergey maybe lost his edge after Aspinall, but I don't know. I reckon that Volkov has improved, and maybe improved to the point that he can get that loss back. The scorecard for the first fight was 50-45 or some shit, but trust me, it was closer than what the judges' scorecard seems to suggest, with Volkov landing a good amount and holding his own. With his improvements in skill and added confidence, Draco has the golden opportunity to finally make it to the upper echelon of the division and get back the loss from years ago, or will Gane remind him that he hasn't changed at all?
Man, I don't even know how I feel about Gane. I didn't know if we, as far as we, Calf Kick Sports, are even going to talk about that fight. Because, well, one, it's heavyweight MMA. Gane has shown clear deficiencies. This is a rematch. I don't know. This fight means nothing to me, to be honest. I used to be a huge Gane guy. Huge Gane fan, but I've since kind of tapered off. I was at that fight with John Jones, and I left out of there like, can't believe I fucking flew all the way out. Paid all this goddamn money for 2 minutes of a fight. Nah.
Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. What was once the main event is now the co-main, with the undisputed title gone, and I'm legitimately surprised that the UFC didn't barf out an interim title as they quite often like to do.
Yeah, they love
the undisputed welterweight title fight is now a plain 5-round #1 contender fight. There were rumors of Usman stepping in against Shavkat, but in the end, Ian Garry, who was supposed to fight Buckley a month after the pay-per-view, was chosen over Usman.
Joaquin, bro, what are you doing out here in the woods?
Man, they took my main event. No more Buck versus Cuck.
I know, and I hear ya. It's almost a rite of passage for MMA fans to shit on Ian Garry, but you have to respect him for stepping up. And even though this card lost an undisputed...
Yeah, but you see those comments, they're like, he sounds like a nervous kid. When he's like, all they're gonna say is he's willing to fight like, he doesn't sound confident. Man, like, it's interesting.
The title fights, I'm not complaining at all, because for the first time in a while, we are getting two undefeated and deserving fighters risking it all against each other. And the little cherry on top, these two have some history together.
Shavkat's incredibly talented. I have nothing but respect for the guy. I've trained him. I've shared the ring with him. We've hit each other. We've trained with each other. It's purely out of, I don't want anyone else to beat him before me. He's 18-0, I'm 15-0. Let's go out there and put on a show and let's see who's really
I don't
better.
need to say much about Shavkat because they highlight his savagery each time he is mentioned. Young, talented, undefeated, and a finish rate of 100%.
What Rakhmonov is doing is the most impressive story in sport right now. Can we agree that Mike Tyson was good? Can we agree about Muhammad Ali? Can we bring George Foreman into it? All of those guys did have 18 victories in a row at some point in their career, but they didn't finish them all.
According to a lot of people, he was all set to steamroll Belal and become undisputed champion in the original main event and remain undefeated for years. That's how hyped up and good he is, and he deserves every bit of it. From striking to submissions, Shavkat is a certified killer, and if you display an ounce of vulnerability or hesitation against this dude, he will kill you. That said, I don't see an ounce of hesitation in Ian Garry. Say what you want about him and what he does out of the octagon, but as a competitor, the guy is fearless and has been pretty vocal about wanting to face Shavkat, the obvious boogeyman of welterweight.
Shavkat, 18-0, undefeated. I'd love to get my hands on him. I've trained him. I have nothing but respect for the guy, but I want to be the first guy to take his own. I know I can do it.
He wanted the smoke, and he got it, accepting it with open arms because Ian Garry knows that if he wins this one, he'll end the undefeated streak and mystique of Shavkat, get the title shot against Belal, and rise to stardom. He just has to endure the pace, power, and lethality of Shavkat to take his zero. Like I said before, this guy's a nightmare. On the feet, his every strike is ruthless and thrown with the intent to finish, and he has shown an ability to maintain a devastating pace. He also doesn't mind mixing it up in the clinch or on the ground, so wherever the fight ends up, Rakhmonov is an assassin. And if he wins this one, that puts him 19-0, and he'll face Belal sometime early 2025 for the undisputed title. but he just has to keep up with the speed, precision, and pure skill of Ian Garry to take his O. Ian Garry isn't just some guy hoping to survive the storm here. His footwork is some of the best in the division, and he's known.
Ian is good, all right? I know I was just hating like, man, you don't bleed, but he's good. This fight is a lot closer than a lot of people seem to think. Ian Garry is really good. He's definitely able to win this fight, in my opinion. This fight is very even. Almost tilted, honestly, into Gary's favor. I'm watching Shavkat struggle to take people down. I'm watching, man, I think this fight is closer than a lot of us think. Than a lot of people have been saying when the fight was announced, even myself. Like, as I look into it, this fight is a lot closer than the perception that's out there.
Keeping his opponents at the end of his punches. Fast, precise, and with a versatile striking attack. Gary's the one guy who has the skill and speed to keep Shavkat off of him and stick and move his way to a victory. And as demonstrated in his last fight, Garry is no novice on the ground either. I know that was against MVP, an actual novice on the ground, but Ian has been training with the likes of Charles and Damian frickin' Maia for years, so you best
MVP
believe he'll
is
be
not
ready
a
for
novice on the
Shavkat's
ground.
grappling. Former training partners, sparring stories, friends or foes. Why did Garry leave? Maybe a backstory. Who cares? The only point you need to concern yourself with is that we're getting a head-on collision between two young, hungry, and undefeated welterweight contenders. And at the end of the night, one guy will be calling out Belal for 2025, while the other will be looking at himself in the mirror, broken from the first loss of his career. Alexandre Pantoja.
It's real
versus
dramatic
Kai
here. I like
Asakura.
it.
What was previously the co-main event is now the main event and the last pay-per-view fight of 2024. A flyweight title fight is going to close out the pay-per-view calendar for the UFC. Ordinarily, a travesty like this would lead to Dana White blowing a couple of millions at a blackjack table and throwing a few people under the bus to cope. But the difference maker here is the debuting Kai Asakura, a two-time Rising bantamweight champion and a star in his home country of Japan. Asakura is getting a title shot in his UFC debut, and you can bet that the executives are hoping and praying that he pulls it off. He wins this, and the Japanese MMA market is right there for the UFC, and the company will finally have a superstar at flyweight. The division might actually get marketed for once, and the company will give a shit about it. Here's the problem though. Kai Asakura is going to face Alexandre Pantoja.
Pantoja's just too damn good. And he's one of those guys that when he's fatigued, somebody brought up a point, it's like he kind of always fights like that towards the end of the fight where it just, and then he lands shots back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new flyweight champion of the world, Alexandre Pantoja!
There's not enough respect on this man's name, and the fact that he is ranked number 11 on the pound-for-pound list is almost disgusting. Pantoja has defended the title twice, but beyond that, he has basically wiped out the division. More than solid with his striking and one of the best grapplers in the company. Pantoja might be the most underrated champion on the roster, and out of all the flyweights, he presents the most difficult stylistic matchup for Asakura. Kai Asakura undoubtedly made noise in Rising with his fights at bantamweight, showcasing his striking prowess and tenacity, but Pantoja's path in the UFC has been rigorous, and he has faced a gauntlet of diverse world-class flyweights, and the sheer variety of styles he's encountered, from elite strikers to competent grapplers, is second to none. Compared to Asakura, he is a far more polished and tested fighter, and if you want to compare the ground game, please don't. Pantoja will maul him on the ground. Another point to consider is whether Asakura can make the 125-pound cut effectively, as he fought as a bantamweight in Rising.
There's zero concerns that you're going to be 125 or below on December 6th.
Totally zero.
If he can make 125 without dying on the inside, his size and reach could pose problems for Pantoja. He's a dynamic, multifaceted striker with dangerous hands, sharp kicks, and good distance management. And with most of his wins coming by KO, his aggression and finishing instincts are definitely top tier. Asakura's best chance lies in starting fast. He'll need to overwhelm Pantoja early, hopefully land meaningful strikes to either secure a quick finish or get the respect of the champion and deter him from engaging in his usual high-pressure approach. If he can't get the respect of the champion early, the pressure and pace and the disparity in grappling skill will be too much. Pantoja will drag him to deep waters.
Pantoja's just a worker, man. He's a hard worker. Kai is flashy. He's got some nice counters, but man, Pantoja keeps coming forward. He's a worker. He's gonna strike. He's gonna grapple. He's gonna do whatever it takes He's going to impose his will, man. Pantoja is a worker.
This would be a good time to bring up a few more facts. Kai has never gone 5 full rounds, while Pantoja has fought and won championship rounds. Pantoja has also never been KO'd, and I doubt he will be. Conversely, Asakura has been knocked out 3 times in his career. Actually, a UFC flyweight on the current roster has a KO win over him. Did I mention the difference in grappling yet, or the level of competition? Octagon jitters are real, and Asakura is going to have to deal with those and try to take the belt off his worst stylistic matchup in the division. With the odds so stacked against him, you might think the UFC has brought him in just to build a slaughter, but as one-sided as this looks on paper, this is how stars are born. If Kai Asakura gets the win and becomes champion in his UFC debut, he will become a star. He has the skill, power, and precision to land a knockout blow on the seemingly unbreakable champion. Can he though? Wait and find out. 2 heavyweight contenders face off in a rematch years after their first encounter. Who will emerge victorious this time? What happens when 2 undefeated welterweight contenders collide? Ian Garry and Shavkat Rakhmonov put their unblemished records on the line in a high-stake clash. Whose streak will survive the night? Alexandre Pantoja will defend his crown against Kai Asakura, only the 5th debutant in UFC history to receive an instant title shot. Can Asakura defy the odds and make history? Will Pantoja's reign continue?
So that was a deeper dive on UFC 310 from The Fighting Business. Shout out to The Fighting Business. Y'all make sure to give them a like and subscribe. That was a pretty cool, pretty dramatic video for the UFC, man. They should be paying this guy for such amazing promotion. I feel like he's doing a better job promoting than the UFC. That was a pretty epic video. And I like how he didn't really give he didn't pick like a certain fighter. He's just digging deep on it. So I really liked the way The Fighting Business does their videos there. Big fan. Only thing I felt like was missing from that video was a deeper dive on Aljamain Sterling and Movsar Evloev. But even without that, we'll talk about that in the Calf Kick Sports video. I'll make sure to try to link you guys that. Make sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're aware when I'm uploading. But yeah, I'm looking forward to give you guys predictions on all of that. That was a pretty cool video from The Fighting Business. I rocks with The Fighting Business. But thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know in the comments which fight you're most excited for at UFC 310 and who do you got? Tell me your picks for UFC 310. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys when I see you. I'll holla.